Someone younger has chosen you, not as a placeholder, not as a phase, not as some fleeting curiosity that will pass once something shinier comes along. They have looked at you, all of you, and decided you are exactly who they want. And if you're sitting with that right now, unsure whether to believe it, unsure whether to trust it, unsure whether something this unexpected could possibly be real, this video is going to change the way you see everything. Because here's what nobody tells you. When someone younger falls in love with you, it's rarely accidental, it's rarely naive, and it is almost never about what you think it's about. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're not going to just understand why this is happening. You're going to understand something about yourself that you may have been refusing to see for a very long time. Let's start with the thing that's probably living rent-free in your head right now. The doubt. The quiet, persistent voice that says, are they sure? Do they really know what they want? Are they just going through something? Is this real, or is this just me being someone's experiment? That voice is not wisdom. That voice is fear dressed up in logical clothing. And before we go any further, I need you to hear this clearly. The fact that someone is younger than you does not make their love less real. It does not make their feelings less valid. It does not make their choice less conscious. Age does not determine emotional depth. Maturity is not a birthright granted at a specific year. Some people at 25 have lived through more emotional complexity than others at 45. And what this younger person feels for you, that's not a misunderstanding. That is a recognition. Now let's talk about recognition, because that's really what this is about. When someone younger sees you as the love of their life, they are not seeing your age. They are seeing something in you that you may have stopped seeing in yourself. They are seeing who you actually are beneath the layers of time, responsibility, disappointment, and all the ways life has asked you to shrink yourself. Think about who you are right now compared to who you were at the beginning of your adult life. You have survived things, real things, heartbreaks that restructured your entire understanding of love, losses that forced you to grow when all you wanted to do was collapse, moments that required you to make decisions nobody could make for you, in rooms where there was no guidebook, no safety net, and no applause when you got it right. You figured things out. You kept going. You built something. Even if it doesn't look exactly the way you planned, you built something. And somewhere in that process, without necessarily meaning to, you became someone with an extraordinary kind of depth. That depth is magnetic. Not to everyone, and it was never supposed to be, but to someone who is awake enough, perceptive enough, and emotionally attuned enough to recognize it. That depth is everything. That depth is what they fell into, and they did not fall by accident. Here's something psychology has long understood about attraction that most people never fully absorb. Genuine attraction is almost never primarily about the surface. Yes, physical attraction exists and matters. Let's not be naive about that. But the kind of love we're talking about here, the kind where someone looks at you and calls you the love of their life, that is built on something far more substantial. It is built on how you make them feel in their own skin. It is built on the quality of your presence. It is built on the way you think, the way you listen, the way you navigate difficulty, and the kind of safety you create around you without even trying to. And you, because of everything you have been through, you carry all of that. You know how to be present because you've learned the hard way that moments don't wait. You know how to listen because you've experienced what it feels like to not be heard. You navigate difficulty with a steadiness that younger people who haven't been through what you've been through are still trying to develop. You create safety because you've sat in enough chaos to understand what safety actually means. They don't see your age, they see your presence. And presence is rare. Genuine, embodied, unhurried presence is one of the rarest things a human being can offer another human being in this era of endless distraction and performative connection. You have it, and they found it. And that is not something to question. That is something to receive. But I want to go deeper than this because I think there's something else happening that deserves to be named. When someone younger chooses you, there is often something in them that was built for a love that has texture and history to it. Some people, and this is genuinely true, have a soul that gravitates toward depth over novelty. They are not interested in someone who is still figuring out who they are. They are not excited by chaos dressed as passion. They have watched people their own age navigate life and they've noticed something. They want more than that. Not because there's anything wrong with people their own age, but because what they need, what they are wired for, what makes them feel truly alive and truly met, that thing lives in you, in the specific shape of you, and they recognized it. This is not them settling. Let me say that again clearly, because you need to hear it and actually believe it. This is not them choosing you because they couldn't find someone else. This is not you being a safe option or a comfortable fallback. What this actually is someone who had options and chose you anyway. Someone who could have gone in countless directions and kept coming back to you. Someone who, when they imagine their future, keeps putting you in it. That is not settling. That is the opposite of settling. That is someone being extraordinarily specific about what they want and having the courage to choose it, even when it doesn't fit neatly into what people expect. And now let's talk about what often makes people in your position hesitant, because I don't want to gloss over the real challenges here. The age gap does come with real things to navigate. Different cultural references, different timelines, different relationships with urgency and the future. Those things are real and they deserve honest conversation. But here is what I want you to understand. Every relationship has incompatibilities to navigate. Every love story has things that don't fit perfectly. The question has never been whether challenges exist. The question has always been whether what you have is worth the work of navigating them. And if someone younger has told you that you are the love of their life, they have already answered that question for themselves. The more important question is whether you have answered it for yourself. Because here's what I see happen too often. The person who is loved doesn't allow themselves to fully receive it. They keep one foot out the door. They keep waiting for the younger person to come to their senses, as if love is a temporary lapse in judgment rather than one of the most honest things a human being can experience. They brace for abandonment instead of leaning into connection. And in doing that, they create the very distance that makes love harder to sustain. Let me tell you something about the psychology of receiving love. When we have been through enough disappointment, when we have been hurt in enough ways, the nervous system starts to treat love as a threat rather than a gift. Not because we don't want love, we desperately want it, but because the last time we opened fully, it cost us something significant. So the brain, trying to protect you, starts reading signs of love as signs of danger. It starts looking for the catch. It starts narrating reasons why this isn't real, why it won't last, why you shouldn't trust it. And it does all of this in the language of reason, so it sounds like wisdom. It sounds like you being smart. But what it actually is a wound talking. The antidote to this is not blind faith. The antidote is discernment combined with willingness. Look at this person's actions over time. Look at the consistency of their presence. Look at how they show up when things are hard, not just when things are easy. Look at how they speak about you, to you, and about you when they think you're not listening. If what you find is a pattern of genuine care, genuine investment, genuine choosing, then what is being asked of you is not to be reckless. What is being asked of you is to be brave. Bravery in love doesn't look like what the movies tell us it looks like. It's not the grand gesture at the airport. It's not the speech in the rain. The real bravery of love is quieter and more difficult than any of that. The real bravery of love is allowing yourself to be seen completely by someone who wants to see you and not flinching. It's not performing an edited version of yourself because you're afraid the full version is too much. It's not keeping emotional distance because distance feels safer than the risk of closeness. The real bravery of love is staying present when every old wound in you is screaming at you to leave before you get left. And you are capable of that bravery. I know you are, because you've already shown it in other parts of your life. You stayed present through things that asked everything of you. This is just a different kind of staying. This is staying in the good thing, and somehow that can be the harder one. Now, I want to address something that lives quietly beneath a lot of the hesitation you might feel, and it's something people rarely say out loud. It's the question of worthiness, not just whether this person's love is real, but whether you deserve it. Whether someone this alive, this open, this future-oriented should really be spending their love on you, with all your history, your complexity, your things that didn't work out the way you hoped. Whether they would be better off with someone who hasn't been worn by time the way you have. I need you to sit with this carefully, because this particular flavor of self-doubt is one of the most damaging things a person can carry into a relationship. When you believe, even partially, that you are not quite worthy of the love being offered to you, you will unconsciously do things to prove yourself right. You will pull away at moments of closeness. You will create arguments when peace makes you nervous. You will interpret neutral events as evidence of rejection. You will manage the relationship at arm's length because full immersion feels like a privilege you haven't earned. And slowly, steadily, without meaning to, you will erode the very thing that was real and good and meant for you. Worthiness is not earned through perfection. Worthiness is not granted after enough suffering. Worthiness is not something you achieve after you've fixed every broken part of yourself. Worthiness is inherent, and the work is not to earn it, but to remember it. To stop outsourcing your sense of value to outcomes and timelines and what you think you should have accomplished by now. To look at yourself with something closer to the honesty that this person who loves you is already looking at you with. Because they see you, and they chose you, not the version of you that gets everything right, not the version of you from before life got complicated. The actual you, the one with the history, the one with the scar tissue, the one who sometimes gets it wrong and sometimes doesn't know what to say, and sometimes needs more time to process than feels convenient. They looked at all of that and they said yes. And the most respectful thing you can do with someone's yes is believe them. Let's talk about what this kind of love actually asks of you going forward, because receiving it is only the beginning. The love of someone who is younger than you, who has chosen you with open eyes and deliberate heart, asks you to stop hiding. It asks you to stop apologizing for taking up space. It asks you to show up in the full volume of who you are, not the considerate, reduced version you've been performing for the comfort of people who never fully loved you anyway. It asks you to communicate when something is weighing on you, instead of disappearing into yourself and hoping they'll figure it out. It asks you to say the vulnerable thing instead of the safe thing when the vulnerable thing is true. It asks you to let them see you uncertain, because certainty is not what they fell in love with. What they fell in love with was you. And you contain uncertainty the way all real humans do. It also asks you to show up for them in return with the specific kind of maturity that your experience has given you. Not in a way that's controlling or paternalistic. That is not what this is. But in a way that holds steadiness when things get turbulent. In a way that can say, this is hard and we're going to be okay, and actually mean it because you've been through hard before, and you know what okay feels like on the other side. In a way that doesn't panic when love goes through a difficult season, because you know by now that difficult seasons are not endings, they are depth builders. That is your gift in this. Not authority, not experience wielded as leverage, but the specific kind of rootedness that someone who has truly lived brings to love. A younger person in love with you is not looking for a parent. They are looking for a partner, but a partner who knows themselves. A partner who has sat with their own darkness and come out the other side. A partner who doesn't need the relationship to be the answer to every unresolved question inside them because they've already done enough of that work to stand solidly in who they are. You are that partner. Maybe you haven't seen yourself that way. Maybe the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are have been smaller than the truth. But someone younger than you looked at you and saw a person worth anchoring their heart to, and that is not nothing. That is, in fact, everything. There's one more thing I want to say before we close, and it's maybe the most important thing of all. Love at this stage of your life, the kind that arrives unexpectedly, from an unexpected direction, in an unexpected form, is not a consolation prize. It is not the universe making up for something. It is not a strange detour on the way to something more conventional. It is the real thing. It might be the realest thing. Because you are receiving it now, when you know enough about yourself to actually be in it, when you are no longer the person who confuses intensity for love, or familiarity for safety, or the absence of conflict for connection. You know the difference now. You have paid for that knowledge in time and in experience and in the kind of personal growth that only happens when you've been through what you've been through. And that knowledge means that when love arrives now, you can meet it differently, more honestly, more fully, more wisely. The younger person who loves you is not loving a diminished version of you. They are loving the most complete version of you that has ever existed. And if you can find the courage to stop questioning whether this is real and start showing up for it as if it is, because it is, what's available to you is something most people search for their entire lives and never find. A love that chooses you on purpose, that is not confused about what it wants. That sees your history not as baggage, but as evidence of your depth. That finds in your complexity not a problem to solve, but a landscape to explore. That is what's in front of you right now. The only question is whether you are willing to walk into it, and I think you are. I think you've been ready for longer than you know. If this video moved something in you, if it shifted something, named something, or gave you language for something you've been carrying quietly, please like it right now. Because that one small action helps this reach someone else who might need to hear exactly this today. Subscribe if you want more content that actually goes somewhere real, that doesn't stay on the surface, that treats you like someone capable of genuine reflection. Leave a comment below and tell me, what is the one thing holding you back from fully receiving this love? I read every comment. I want to know where you are, and if you know someone who is standing at this exact crossroads right now, someone who has been chosen by someone unexpected and doesn't know whether to trust it, share this with them. It might be the thing that helps them stay.